This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
He was deep in the forest, and the wolf jumped upon a sheep. And the sheep is fighting for its life as the wolf is trying to dig its teeth into the sheep's neck. And the wolf is getting closer and closer to its goal. And the sheep is screaming and screaming. And at one point, it goes quiet, deathly quiet. At that moment, the wolf has the sheep in a deathlock. The teeth is deep inside the neck. The mokem and hashama is about to leave the sheep. Revelio Lopian Zatzal used this as a mashal for what's going on in our generation. In our generation, when there's so much tumah floating around, so much accessible tumah, that the Satan has us in a deathlock, and there's silence. Deathly silent. And I remember discussing this with various choshev gedolim about whether or not this is a subject we speak about in public, in a public way, in a beis medrash, not in a private room, perhaps on a one-on-one. And they said no, it's an eis lasois, because the Satan has us in a deathlock. We have to discuss it, and we have to discuss it in any way that we can to mechazik ourselves. And I have to say that over the years of giving various forms of this, I have received, I cannot tell you how many responses and email and phone calls from around the world of people that tell me that they are listening to these sorts of things. In fact, this series, month after month, every month to mechazik themselves in this Indian. The Toldos Aaron Rebbe once said over the following mashal. And he said that a person, imagine the scene, gets to Shamayim after 120 years of being in this world. He tried his best. He did whatever he can. And he gets up to Shamayim after 120 years. And they start weighing up the aveiros. They weigh up the mitzvahs. They goes on the scales, balance backwards and forwards, the aveiros, the mitzvahs that he performed in this world. And all of a sudden, as it's looking a little bit bad, the aveiros are weighing lower and lower. A big red double-decker bus comes in front of the Beis Din. As the Beis Din are being conducted, this big double-decker red bus from England comes in with men, women and children on it. And it dumps itself on the side of the scale of the mitzvahs. And they said, okay, he won. The mitzvahs outweighed the aveiros, send him to Gan Eden. And he said, well, I never saw this bus. I've never been to England. I've never seen these people before. What's going on? They said, I'll tell you what happened. Very simple. There was a bus with men, women and children. And on this bus was going to enter an Arab who had decided that his life's mission is going to be to blow up and kill, Rahman al-Islam, as many Jewish men, women and children that he possibly can. And his plan was to get on a certain bus that he knew was packed, known to be packed. And there he is, in an Arab village, in the quiet of his house, and he's putting together the bomb that he wants to blow up in that bus. And at the time that he's putting together the bomb, at that exact moment, you, and they're telling this in Shamayim, were walking on the street, innocently walking down the road. And there was a woman who was dressed, not sneers, not in the proper way. She had various parts of her body revealed that should be covered. And as you walked past, you had the opportunity, should I look or do I not look? And you think to yourself, no, it's only a look. And you say, no, I'm going to fight my Yetzer Hara and I'm going to look away. At that exact moment, when you looked away, when you chose to fight your Yetzer Hara, at that exact moment, the bomb that Arab was planning to bomb and kill innocent men, women and children, he was there with all the wires putting it together, blew up in his face and killed him on the spot. That's the power of what you have. You should know I got an email recently. Somebody heard this Maisa that I said a number of years ago, and they said, really? A little bit heavy, that. Come on. That didn't really happen. And I said, the problem is we underestimate the power of our actions. And as we're going to see Be'ez Hashem over the next few weeks, what Chazal, we're going to go through Maimon Chazal, not just stories, but actual Torah, and see what Chazal are explaining to us, and how they value this amazing and unbelievable opportunity. Now there are many people, when they hear, oh, there's a share about watching your eyes. Maybe Sinayim, it's not negated to me. It's not negated to me. I don't need to go to the share. So Baruch Hashem, you guys didn't say that. But I want to tell you something. Rav Shalom Shadron, Zatzal, was in Borough Park. And he was giving a share in Borough Park about Shmira Shabbos. And they said to him after the share, Shadron, it was a beautiful share, mamish, beautiful share. But why Shmira Shabbos in Borough Park? We're very religious over here. We've got shtibels on every corner. We don't have to hear about Shmira Shabbos. Go some hick town in the middle of nowhere and be mechazik them in Shmira Shabbos. So Shadron said, you want to know something? When the firefighters have to fight a fire, when there's a fire in a building, they don't just spray the building, but they spray everywhere around the building so that it shouldn't spread. Rav Shalom Shadron said it's the same thing. True, it might not be negated to you, but it's negated to someone. And we have to spread the water everywhere. Anybody that claims that this is not negated to them should either go to a doctor, or very simply, I'll show you some emails. I'll show you emails from young teenagers to 85-year-old men who send me emails regarding this topic, because they struggle with this. This is a struggle, Rabbi says, we're going to see Be'ez Hashem, ad yoim moisai. There's no way out. The only way is to work on it. And that's Be'ez Hashem, what we're going to be doing here, Be'ez Hashem. When I was in the Catskills in the summer, so I went into one of these ice cream stores. It was an amazing, I've never seen anything like it. And ice cream stores, maybe where I come from, are pretty simple. You go over the counter, you choose an ice cream, they give you one in a cone, without a cone, with a spoon, without a spoon, with a sprinkle, not a sprinkle. It's a pretty simple situation. I walk into the store. Now this is in the Catskills, right? We're not even talking about like mainstream America. It's like, up and you can use for a couple of weeks during the year. And it's unbelievable. The entire wall is filled with different flavors, whether it's diet flavors, whether it's not diet flavors, and not only that, not only the flavors of the ice cream, but the toppings. I've never seen anything like it. You don't ask them for a topping, because that's boring. It's in front of you. Take whatever you want, pour it on, just drizzle it all on. At the end of whatever, you figured it out, you go to the counter, you weigh it up, you pay for what it is. Wonderful. And I'm watching this. Just imagine, you go to with one of your friends to such a store, and you start getting this flavor with this topping and a whole matzav. And you say, no, what are you getting? He says, I'm going to get vanilla. Just regular, plain vanilla. Vanilla? Come on! This is the opportunity to get any flavor you want. Experience the taste. Come on! And he says, no, I've never really tasted any other flavor. I know vanilla's good. I'll just go with that, because that's all I know is good. Do you know how many people would say to their friends, you're missing out. You're missing out on all the good flavors. Rabbi say, how many of us are missing out in life because we don't know how to control our taivas? We don't know how to say no. We don't know how to control our fingers when we're pressing the buttons on the screen. We don't know what it means to control ourselves, and we think life's fine. Rabbi, so you're missing out. You're missing out on the life of flavor, of somebody that knows how to say no, of somebody that knows how to control himself, and doesn't have to do everything his animal part of his body says do. That's what you're missing out on. And that's what we're here, Be'ez Hashem, to try and machazik ourselves during the months, the weeks of Shovavim, Be'ez Hashem. The Rambam, in Hilchos Tshuva, it's an amazing Rambam. The Rambam writes, HaMistakel Ba'arayas. If a person looks at that which he shouldn't be looking at, says the Rambam, Malal Daito She'ein Bekach Klom. First Rambam. The Rambam says a person looks at something, whether he's on his phone, he's on the computer, whether he's on the street, whether he's at work, whatever it is, he looks at something. He looks at that which he shouldn't be looking. Says the Rambam, a person thinks to himself, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? What did I do? I touched her? Chas v'shalom. I had relations with her? Chas v'shalom. I'm from Yid. I just looked. It's like a museum. Everything's behind the glass window. Look, but don't touch. That's what it says in the museum. Just look, but don't touch. No, I looked. I didn't touch. I didn't do anything terrible. I just looked. Says the Rambam. Malal daito she'ein bekach klum. Says the Rambam, Vu'eino yedei shviyas einayim. Ovoin godol shu goremes legufon shal harayish shenem alo yisusurach ve'levavchem. Says the Rambam, you don't know what's going on. The Mesilas Yesharim calls it a niyuf beinayim. You know what that means? We understand a person commits adultery. How do you do it? Chas v'shalom lo aleinu. A person has to go and do a ma'aseh with a woman, says the Mesilas Yesharim. A person can do a niyuf beinayim. He can do adultery with his eyes, without any ma'aseh. And a person thinks, what's the big deal? In fact, the Rambam learns it's one of the hardest things to do tshuva on. Because I didn't do anything. I just looked. A simple look. We'll see Be'ez Hashem next week when we talk about the eye and what Chazal tell us about the eye that looked at things that it shouldn't. What happens to that eye? We'll discuss that. But the Rambam tells us how careful a person has to be. It's only a look. I'm just looking. What's the big deal? Did it really affect me to this Adoraisa? And as we'll see, many things a little bit worse than that as well. The Rishon, in Balei HaNefesh and Shara Kedusha writes, and I'll read you the Lashon of the Ravid. HaRishon l'chol ha'gedorim. Asks the Ravid if a person wants to make a geder is a fence. If you want to make a fence to make sure things don't get worse, what do? What's the very first fence that you build? Says the Ravid, Shmiras ha'inayim, watching those eyes. Shmurim liboy shamu. Says the Ravid, once your eyes are guarded, your heart's guarded. If your heart is guarded, everything is guarded. It all starts from the eye. And we'll speak about Be'ez Hashem. The eye is the thinnest mechitza from the outside world straight into the neshama. It pierces straight in without any way of anything else happening. Dr. Jeffrey Satinova, who was a very esteemed Princeton University professor, said the following statement. And this was in 2013. Rabbi said we're 2018, 2019. Where years after that was conducted. 2013. He's talking about pornography. And he's writing, this is a Goyish professor. It's as if we have devised a form of heroin 100 times more powerful than anything we ever know. And it's able to be used in the privacy in one's own home, in your bedroom, it's in your pocket. And it goes directly, as he says, it's injected directly to the brain from your eyes. And that's very hard to remove. The statistics, as was brought down again, this is years ago, 2006, were over 10 years after this was taken. And the statistics were that worldwide pornography sale around the world is $97 million. That's more than Microsoft and Google put together. And this was in 2006. 420 million pages on the internet dedicated to pornography. In fact, they write that every 39 minutes, there's a new video of pornography created. In 2016, they made a survey And he found that 35% of anything downloaded from the internet, Rabbi said, I don't have to tell you, there's a lot of people around the world, there's a lot of people using internet. This is 2 years ago they made this. 35% of anything downloaded was pornography. 2.5 billion emails are received or constantly sent from one to the other. Again, this is 2016. Rabbi say, it's more than ever. It's hard to get away from it. The only way that we have is to machazik ourselves with an understanding of what it means, Shmiras Einayim, and the maila of Shmiras Einayim. And if we go a little bit for a moment behind the scenes of what's going on in your brain just before you look at something also. What happens? What's going on in your thought process? A moment before you press the button, you click the screen, or you look at whatever it is. What's going on? And the answer is very simple. There's something at the back of your mind that's telling you, an unspoken promise. There's something here that will pleasure you. Just give it a look. And that little voice, unconsciously, is telling you, there's something there that's going to give you something. There's something there that's going to satisfy you. And that's the only explanation why a person would sink to the lowest depths and look at that which he shouldn't, because there's something there promising you. Just look, and you'll be satisfied. And it's not the case. Because anybody will tell you that however much is exciting before, but afterwards it's a letdown. And we always say that the eye is the biggest salesman. The eye can make something look so exciting. But just imagine, and we say this every year, you're very, very thirsty. Very, very thirsty. So somebody offers you a cup of very salty water. And there you are, you've got the cup. And you're drinking the cup of salty water. And for a moment, just for a moment.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.